To the right of me here is a PC that is geared up towards the new Call of Duty Modern Warfare. And today we're going to be taking this PC, which features a 2080 Super and also a 9900K, through its paces in this game, where Nvidia have told us that RTX on this title not only looks amazing, where it gives all the shadows and brings everything to life, it also does so without stuttering. So we're going to test those claims and see if this new title will live up to the task at 1440p 144Hz, which I feel personally is a sweet spot for gaming at the moment, especially when you start moving up to higher end gaming PCs and you want to turn on all those fancy effects. Now, today's video is sponsored by Nvidia in collaboration with M-Wave, who are a local PC retailer here in Australia. They put together some really nice gaming PCs like the one beside me that are quiet, they look really good, and the cable management is meticulous. But with that aside, let's jump into the new COD and see what kind of numbers and FPS figures we can get out of this game with RTX on. Now, first and foremost, when it comes to PC gaming, we have to employ clean and hygienic practices. So when a new title launches, you have to download the latest drivers. So to do this on PC, it's really easy. Just go to nvidia.com and then select your driver on the graphics card in your PC, download it, click run and install. Or if you already have Nvidia drivers installed, you can go into the GeForce experience and check if there's an update. If it doesn't need an update, then that means you have the latest drivers and you're good to go. Now, one more important thing with RTX graphics cards and Modern Warfare is if you want to turn RTX on, then you will need the latest Windows 1903 update. If you don't have this, then you can download it manually, which I'll put the link in the description below for both these two updates. Now, once we've done those two things, we can boot up COD and then go down here to options and left click that. And then we can go up to the graphics tab up the top here. And what we'll see is there's a different amount of settings that we can change. And you can see since my screen is 144Hz, 1440p, I've set those to both those specs. Now moving down, I've disabled VSync since I do have G-Sync enabled in the Nvidia drivers. Another thing I've done too is gone down to advanced custom frame limit and set that to 141. I do like to keep my FPS just a little bit below the monitor's max refresh rate. This ensures I'm going to get the best input lag as well as no screen tearing when I'm playing games. And now if we want to enable ray tracing on this game, we just scroll down to Shadows and Lighting tab and then go to DirectX Ray Tracing, click the arrow to enable it, and now we're good to go. This will lock in the anti-aliasing to Filmic SMAA T2X. But with that aside, let's jump into multiplayer and start running some benchmarks and getting some frags.
Question check, what's the cut get at?
Down, we're clear. Post up on the ridge, let's get the ridge. Down, we're clear. Post up on the ridge, let's get the ridge. Oh my God.
So now I've been playing Modern Warfare, both the single player and the multiplayer, and what Nvidia have done with RTX on this game is really nice. They've implemented in the multiplayer on all the core modes, and switching it on really didn't affect the FPS at all. At least with the benchmarks I did here, at 1440p high settings, we were getting very smooth FPS on both the 1%, 0.1% lows, and average FPS was pretty much going over 100 at all times. And now with the G-Sync feature enabled, you're gonna get a very smooth experience and still get a very gorgeous experience whilst playing this game. Now, out of the different modes to play from, I took a liking to free-for-all. It was a very cool mode to play where you're constantly on the go and you've got to be on your game, otherwise you're going to be losing those games. Now, Nvidia have made a point that frames wins games, and when I tested this out, all other things equal, it is a true statement, but I will say on top of that, skill definitely wins games, and having a good mouse is going to help a lot. And so having a high frame rate as well as a good monitor, low input lag is really going to help. And now this system behind me, the one sent in from M-Wave, has extremely good input lag. When I measured it on CSGO, we saw numbers going down to 6 milliseconds total input lag for the whole system, which is really good if you're a competitive gamer. The one thing going forward, I will say, no skill plus bad gear and high frames will lose games. So you've got to have the skills to go with that. Now with Modern Warfare, when we jumped into the campaign, we were able to get benchmarks on single player that were apples to apples. And the first scene really highlights how good the ray trace shadows can be, where you're moving through this dark forest and you can see the shadows are just reflecting off the grass and things like that. So it's real-time ray tracing. However, the FPS hit, of course, the more shadows there are, will drop the numbers down. So in multiplayer, the shadows aren't as present, but when it came to single player, we did lose a bit of FPS turning this feature on. However, it did just make that experience one that once you turn it on, you've kind of got to have it because it does really add to the realism of the game. And it's awesome to see that Nvidia are collaborating with the developers, in this case, Activision, Infinity Ward, and Beenox, and implementing RTX the way it's supposed to be. We saw over a year ago that RTX came out, there was a lot of stuttering, so if you're a competitive multiplayer, you didn't really want to turn this feature on. But now in Modern Warfare, RTX has been polished, and leaving it on really gives you that immersive experience, plus it enables you to still get those frags. Another thing Nvidia have worked on with their new RTX and also Turing GTX architecture is the encoder, where I'm recording on Shadowplay and I'm literally noticing hardly any FPS drop at all in terms of average FPS. The 1% and 0.1% lows are still extremely smooth, and this enabled me to capture some really good gameplay moments where I still managed to get a helicopter streak and pull off a flawless. So the RTX supercards like the 2080 Super we featured here do give you that little bit more performance over the original RTX variants. Another thing you can do with this system if you've got a little bit of time, and since it is an Aorus card which has a massive cooler, it's also got that RGB bling to boot, is you can control the RGB on the rings of the GPU itself and customize that all within the Aorus engine. And this enabled me to pretty much auto scan and overclock. So if you're not into overclocking, a GPU like this will give you the maximum performance by just clicking one button. And when we turned on the overclocks, we did get about 5% more FPS, both with RTX on and RTX off. And it was super easy to do, and the noise still remained relatively quiet. But ultimately, going through a whole system like this, one thing you will want to do if you set up a new PC is go into the BIOS by pressing F2 and making sure your XMB profiles are switched on for your memory. And once you do that, you can save and exit, and this will help with the smoothness and ensure that there's no stuttering while you're playing your games. But anyway guys, in closing out this video, I also managed to play some games like Dota 2, Fortnite, and just max the settings, and I was getting a very smooth experience. And then I went into the game called Control and looked at all the other features they've got for ray tracing, and this really does give you an immersive experience. And one thing I'd like to see with Nvidia going forward is to focus on these AAA titles, especially games like Modern Warfare, where you've got a big multiplayer cross-play platform. I'd like to see them introduce ray tracing on games like Dota 2, CSGO, and also GTA 5 and Fortnite, and I think that would really help to bring out the best of RTX. Anyway guys, in closing out this video, the 9900K, the RTX 2080 Super, and the 16 gig of RAM combo in this M-Wave system is absolutely phenomenal. Yes, it's going to set you back a bit in terms of its price, but if you want one of the best gaming experiences you can get on PC and you don't know how to build a PC or set one up, and you want the best with low noise, great frame rates, then this system is definitely going to accommodate those needs. However, here's probably the most awesome part of today's video. And that's where you can get in with a chance to win a 9900K and also a 2080 Super. So I'm a little bit sad because I don't get to keep this gear, but one lucky viewer out there is going to be in with a chance to win a 9900K and a 2080 Super. And all you have to do to enter is go over to my Twitter, where I'm going to be posting up a link on how you can enter this giveaway completely free. So one lucky viewer is going to win this awesome gear inside this system. So I'm a little bit sad because I've got to part with this system, but one person out there is going to be super happy once the giveaway is finished. Now we've got the question of the day, which comes from Zathos, and he says, I don't understand why anyone would buy a reference model when there are aftermarket solutions out there. And I pretty much completely agree with this comment. If you can get an aftermarket model like the one we featured here today, where we got better overclocks, better temperatures, then definitely go and do that. It's going to give you just a better experience in the long run, and it's going to keep the noises down and generally give you better overclocks. However, reference models, they do have their functions, especially in terms of mini ITX PCs, where you've got limited airflow and you've got a channel where that reference blower can suck in fresh air, keep it out the rest of the case, and then blow it out the back. That's generally the only time I consider the reference models, especially with those blower style coolers, to be of any use. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, then be sure to hit that like button, and I'll catch you in another tech video very soon. Make sure you head over to Twitter, get in with a chance for that giveaway, and I'll see you next time. Peace out for now. Bye.